I have with me Mr. Karti Chidambaram. So elections are there in 5 states, assembly elections, and Tamil Nadu certainly is going to be a very important state as far as Congress party goes. One state that seems to be quite promising. That's what Congress leaders are telling us. We'll speak to Mr. Karti Chidambaram about that. How is a state looking? Are you really expecting that results will be something that will be in your favor? Or you'll be able to form the government with your allies there?
Our alliance, the DMK Congress alliance, will repeat its 2019 performance. I think we'll have a resounding victory, and the DMK-led alliance will form the government comfortably in Tamil Nadu.
But Karti, I wanted to speak to you about, Congress's, don't you think that Congress's own space is shrinking in state politics? Like in Tamil Nadu only, the seats that you've gotten, 60 plus seats, and then it came down to 40 plus seats and now 20 plus seats. Is it something that worries you as a leader of a national party?
This is true. I can't deny the fact that we contested 63 seats in 2011, when we won only 5. And we contested 41 seats in 2016, where we won 8, and now we are contesting 25 seats. That's a fact. I can't deny that fact. Yes, our number of seats we are contesting has come down over the last 10 years. That's because we need to strengthen our organization. I mean, it will be naive on my part not to admit the fact that our organization needs to be strengthened. And if we strengthen our organization, I'm sure we will be able to come back to our old position which we held before. But we are still contesting the third largest number of seats in Tamil Nadu. I mean, after the AIADMK and the DMK, the Congress party is contesting the third largest number of seats, which is one. But of course, there are smaller parties which are contesting separately. We don't really count them. So the Congress is the third political party in Tamil Nadu, and will remain so. But obviously, we need to do a lot more to strengthen ourselves and move ahead.
I just wanted to come to you about that strengthening of organization part, because after 2014 Lok Sabha election, there was the Antony committee. They came up with a report. Party did talk about introspection, but it has, it's already been more than 7 years. But still, that introspection or the strengthening of party or organization doesn't seem to be there on the ground, and perhaps that's the reason your space is shrinking day by day.
See, many of us are concerned about the party. Some of them have been more vocal. Some of them have been, voicing it privately. I think in December 19 of 2020, many of our senior leaders had a very frank and open discussion with the Congress President, Mrs. Gandhi, and many suggestions were put forward. I also believe that the way forward is to have elections within the party, but elections, when I say, is not only confined to the president of the party. Sometimes the media is too obsessed about the presidential election. I think that should be the last thing we should do. The first thing we should do in terms of elections.
Isn't it important for the principle?
Hear me out. The first election we should really start the election at the grassroots level. We must have election at the block level. We must elect the block president, and then elect the the district president, and then elect the state president, and then come up to the party president. See, the solution to the Congress's predicament at the moment is not to necessarily just have a party president. We should have a block level president. It should be meritocratic and democratic at the grassroots level. And I think we should do that exercise first before we are, but the media is too obsessed about who the Congress president is. The Congress president is Mrs. Sonia Gandhi, and that's very clear, and everybody accepts her. So we really need to work our way ground up rather than top down. And perhaps we should also, there's an idea which Mr. Rahul Gandhi earlier mooted, we should go back to it and see whether candidates can actually be selected by the district committees themselves, instead of being cleared by state and then national committees, which will hopefully have some sort of supervisory role, but really to get candidate selection also to the grassroots level. These are in my opinion, would be far-reaching reforms the party can take about.
Since you've talked about this 2020 meeting of senior Congress leaders, couple of senior Congress leaders from that group, had a meeting in Jammu recently wherein they've criticized Congress party. It's not the old Congress party. Things have really gone bad. And of course, people put across their sentiment. So this, if I may say so, G23 group still seems to be not happy, not satisfied. They've written a letter, but it still seems that things are where they were before they wrote the letter. And that's why there's this discontent amongst them.
See, it's not just the G23. All of us want a stronger Congress party. India needs a stronger Congress party. India needs a strong Congress party to preserve India, the idea of India itself. Because the idea of India, which robust and strong organization with clear ideological moorings, which we have to articulate very well to the electorate, we won't be able to take on the BJP. That's the concern which many of us are voicing, some of them publicly, many of us privately. So anybody who's giving suggestions to strengthen the Congress party, who is within the Congress party and giving these suggestions, we must only welcome it and take it in the right spirit, and that's what I think the party is doing. And I think, post these elections, we will see a lot more concrete things happening. But the suggestions which the leaders you are saying are giving are welcome suggestions. They are not. They are all in the interest of the party, and they are all in the interest of this country.
But at times it is being taken as if it is against,
No, that is the media gives it a spin. But I think Mr. Kapil Sibal has also given an interview today in the Hindu, which I just read this morning, where he has clearly said that every suggestion is given only in the interest of the Congress party, which is also in the larger interest of India itself. Because India needs a very strong Congress party, and the idea of India needs a vibrant Congress party, and that's the only interest which everybody has. And I agree with that.
in June, since you're talking about strengthening the party at the block level and to have elections at the block level in June, because that's the time deadline that has been set up by your party to hold that election. Are we going to see those elections happening at the block level? Is this the time that when Congress party is actually going to do it?
I don't know whether there is a committee which oversees the election of the Congress within the Congress party. I don't know whether they have a timetable for the block level, but I really believe the way forward is not to just focus on the presidential election of the Congress party. It is actually to focus at the grassroots level and to build it up from the grassroots level. So first to have the elections in the block, then in the district, then in the PCC, and then at the national level. But I really do not know what the schedule the Congress party has, or maybe we have another timeline to get these things done. But just by focusing on the president's post, that seems to be a media obsession. But from
the president runs the party, perhaps that's the reason that
it is essential. We have a president and we will have a president. There's no doubt about it. But that alone is not enough. That's what I'm trying to say. I think having a universally acceptable president is important. And we have a universally acceptable president at the moment. Mrs. Sonia Gandhi is universally acceptable to the party. But that alone is not enough. We need to strengthen at the block level. And when I say strengthen at the block level, we must have this democratic and meritocratic exercise at the block level as well.
You have a president which is interim president. So are we going to see Mr. Rahul Gandhi finally taking it up as the president of the party in June when the organization election actually takes place?
See, the average Congress worker, I think, would want Rahul Gandhi to be the president. That is very clear. I mean, at least the average Congress worker in Tamil Nadu wants Rahul Gandhi to be the president, because I perhaps interact with Tamil Nadu workers more than with workers from anywhere else. They want that. But as I said, we are only focusing on the president.
Karti Chidambaram also wants him to be the...
I want what the workers want, because this is the leadership of the party must have the confidence of the worker, and whatever the workers want is what I want.
Have you had any conversation with Mr. Gandhi of late, wherein because earlier we heard that he's reluctant, he's not ready to take up that post, but are we really going to see him at least contesting this election this time?
The only conversation I had with him recently is about the strategy and the tactics we have to deploy in Tamil Nadu to make sure that we have a large number of MLAs, of the Congress MLAs in the Assembly.
What about his critique who say that he's failed, several times in terms of electoral politics?
No, that is
perhaps is not the right choice.
The Congress has not succeeded. It is not the success or the failure of a particular individual. It is the Congress party which has not won 2 general elections. So I think it will be inappropriate to blame any one individual. This is a large party with a large membership base throughout the country. So it's the party which has lost the election. I mean, but losing an election does not mean the party is not relevant or will not make a comeback. I think writing off a party of this size and history will be very, very premature.
Just 2 more questions about Tamil Nadu Assembly elections. Do you because BJP is also trying to make inroads in the southern Indian politics, especially in the state of Tamil Nadu, and of course in other states too. Do you think that they'll be able to make at least inroads in terms of electoral politics in the state of Tamil Nadu?
In Tamil Nadu, the BJP has 0 MLAs and 0 MPs, and I sincerely believe that that's what it will remain in May as well. They'll have 0 MLAs and 0 MPs in Tamil Nadu.
So you don't see any future for them?
See, the BJP is not a welcome party in Tamil Nadu. Their agenda of Hindi Hindutva is roundly rejected by the people of Tamil Nadu. The Tamil people believe that the BJP is an adversary to our identity.
So you'll be part of the government if DMK forms the government, if that happens.
These all depends on number of seats each party wins. I mean, that can't be answered right now. But by all trends, the DMK by itself would, by all estimations, win a comfortable majority on its own.
You might have gotten 20 plus seats, but you've got several factions even within the state of Tamil Nadu, several leaders of Congress party fighting amongst themselves. That has been the story in the state of Kerala, and that's perhaps the reason that Mr. P.C. Chacko put in his papers. So this factionalism seems to be a big problem.
No, it's actually shows that the party is vibrant, and there are many people who want the party ticket, and there are many aspirants for a particular party ticket. That's how it should be. There should be many claimants for positions within the party, and this actually, in fact, is a great indicator of the health and the vitality of the Congress party.
How many seats is Mr. Chidambaram looking at for the alliance?
I want the Congress to win all the 25 seats it's contesting. Obviously, I want everything to win. But I mean, to put a specific number now will be difficult. But we will, increase our tally, our present tally of 8 to a handsome number in Tamil Nadu.
Thank you very much for speaking to us. So that was Karti Chidambaram, Lok Sabha MP from Shivaganga, certainly talking about party's prospects in the state of Tamil Nadu, and is saying that Congress and DMK will be forming the next government in the state of Tamil Nadu. This is Vijay Lakshmi with campus and Babar Masood for India TV.
अब आप बड़ी आसानी से इंडिया टीवी देख सकते हैं और इसके लिए आपको इंडिया टीवी ऐप डाउनलोड करना होगा। प्ले स्टोर या ऐप स्टोर में जाएं, इंडिया टीवी ऐप सर्च करें और इसे डाउनलोड करें। इंडिया टीवी हर जगह हर वक्त।